Hey everybody, video on how I selected my Spanish teacher, how I overthought it in the process, and maybe it'll help you figure out who you're going to use to teach you Spanish. I would definitely tell you to hire, I keep looking at this, my dog. Here you go, come here. Come here. I would tell you to definitely hire somebody to teach you. Don't just, if you're going to rely on apps, just solely apps, forget about it. In my opinion. And and I'm so brilliant with the languages, so you should really listen to me. But so a couple things that came up. Somebody had mentioned, well, first, do you want somebody that's a native speaking English person teaching you Spanish, or somebody that is a native speaking Spanish person teaching you Spanish? So in the end, I wanted a native speaking Spanish person. Then the next question that came up was, well, what country do you want them to be from? And I really hadn't thought about that, but as I was doing some research, the comments were, well, the Spanish in Spain is different than the Spanish in South America. The Spanish in the different countries in South America can be different from each other, and the Spanish in Mexico can be different. Now, they can all communicate with each other, but they're like, things can be different, right? I don't think it's, something that's going to stop you. Like if you go to South America and then you go to Spain, I think you're going to be okay. But again, what do I know? For example, I chose Colombia for a lot of reasons, right? And one of them was I had heard also, and this could have been a lie. Somebody could have lied to me about this, is that the Colombian accent was slightly more neutral. So I thought, okay, well, maybe that'll be easier as I'm trying to listen to things. And then my sister-in-law, hey Sandy, is originally from Colombia. So I thought that was just kind of a neat thing. So it was another checkbox into, where I was going. I knew I didn't want to pick Spain because I knew the probability of me wanting to fly further east, versus just shooting south, wasn't really going to happen. I would prefer to go to some warmer weather if I'm going to go visit. So I decided Colombia, very cool. And I decided I wanted a native speaking Spanish speaker. Then the next question was, hey, thanks for hanging out, Coop. The next question was, do I want somebody that lives in the country? And when somebody brought that up, I actually ended up having an example of what happens earlier today, is the fact that somebody's still living in the country is they're going to be more current with the slang and everything else. I think we might all be able to agree. I don't know, my grammar in English is crap, right? And if I were to speak perfect grammar in Spanish, I am sure I would stand out like a sore thumb. Like, nobody talks like that. That's not conversational. So I figured a native person living there would help me with more conversational Spanish and more current terms and slang. And it happened earlier today where my sister-in-law, I was talking about a phrase and she's like, that's not a phrase. And I would believe her over anybody else, to be honest with you. But I checked with him, he goes, yeah, and he's younger. So I'm like, okay, so it is. But it's just like social media when, younger groups of people are saying one thing, like cap or fact, or cap or not, whatever. Right? You see. So for me, I picked a native speaking Spanish speaker in Colombia, and I absolutely am very happy with my choice. I would tell you, if you're going to pick somebody, make sure you do a couple classes with them first before you full on hire them. A lot of them will give you a free session, but I think you need like a couple, like 3 or 4. So you're going to have to pay them for some of those. They're not going to do it for free. And the other thing is gauge your dedication versus your motivation. And this I get directly from David, who I use. He mentions that people seem to be very motivated in the beginning. And then he'll notice if there's just even a slight break in, like all of a sudden they start missing classes, he's like 95% of the time they just won't come back. And that's because they were motivated, but they weren't dedicated. And I've actually been through that in the last 9 months where I've had at least 2 different occasions where I've had to take like a week off because just work was crazy. And I'm like, I got to focus on work. But I came back every time, and I'm hoping I've proved to him that I'm still dedicated. And the reason I bring that up is I am currently in a 3rd week gap, holidays, work, everything else. So I think have those sessions. It's good to talk to a bunch of different instructors. I would try to figure out which country you're interested in. I would try to decide whether you want a native speaking English person or native speaking Spanish, and whether you want that instructor to be living in the country if you pick a country, or whether you just don't care. And it's up to you. For me, I think I was being too obsessive about all of that. but it works for me. I'm really happy with who I selected. I found David on TikTok actually, even though he does more on Instagram than he does on TikTok, and he also has a YouTube channel, and I'll link that below. So if you have any questions for me, put a comment below. If you like to, give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, give me a thumbs down. I'm cool with that. If you have any questions about who I'm using now or anything else related to my journey, just let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for spending your time with me. I appreciate that. I truly do. Cooper does too, but he left because he doesn't care that much.